This episode is for you. 4 international candidates. 4 reasons to vote. 1 shared message. This is your Denmark too.
Welcome to the final episode of Vote Home Season 2. Today we want to leave you with some stories from 4 people who didn't grow up here, but who now stand proudly on Danish ballots. So let's meet them right now.
Hello everyone and welcome to Vote Home 2. So we will do a round. We will start basically to, let's say, closer to Derek or closer to me, because me and Derek are literally in both corners of the country. Where should we start? Should we say 1, 2, 3? Derek, what number are you thinking of?
How about the number 8?
8. Okay, so we start from Copenhagen. I was thinking about 2. What's the nearest from Copenhagen? I guess we have with us Nico. Nico, please tell us who you are, where are you from originally, and where are you running actually?
Close to Copenhagen, as in Copenhagen, and currently in the office that's actually on the Ophelia Place, close to Nyhavn. So I'm running for Copenhagen, for the Copenhagen municipality. Originally, I'm assuming you guessed by now I'm French. The accent is there. It will stay.
You could be from Canada.
Yeah, no, they speak a different French. It's different. But yes, I'm from France, and I've been here for 13 years now. I'm 45, married to a Danish-Italian woman, 45, and I have 2 kids that are born and raised in Copenhagen.
Okay, Nico, what does it mean for you to run for elections in Denmark shortly? Like, why are you running?
You usually run because you're frustrated with the way things are, and you feel that your voice should be heard, or at least you stand for something that you want to change. I think for me, I've been, flirting with the ideas of politics for a long time. I've always been interested. I think it's fascinating. I think it's, the whole idea of running countries and taking decisions for the greater good and so on. I think that's just very, very interesting. 13 years in Copenhagen. I think for me, really the click was having kids that are now reaching an age 10 and 8, where I feel that I see things in the municipality that I potentially would like to be run differently, right? And I think for a bigger picture for me has been from the get-go is we internationals represent a sizable part of Denmark, certainly in Copenhagen, and we've been voiceless. We're just part of this society without really having a voice or really being accounted for. Like recently I was at an event at Digital Hub with the Minister of Digitalization, and we were talking about the place of internationals and why are so many internationals leaving the country, which is obviously a pain point for a lot of organizations. And I think, and maybe it's a bit blunt, but then again, that's my reputation. I think most of us, we feel tolerated here and not welcomed. And I think for me, it's really trying to create some voice and some awareness around we shouldn't be tolerated. You should feel lucky to have us, and push in that direction.
Super. Thank you so much, Nico. This was a great intro to Copenhagen. You're running for Copenhagen municipality, for Copenhagen City Council, and you're actually the first candidate that is international running for Copenhagen City Council in the history of Copenhagen. So congratulations on that.
Really?
Yeah.
I win already. That's it. It's already a win.
I don't know if there's others. I actually don't know if this year might be others besides you, but in previous years there haven't been any. Remember, in international is someone which doesn't have Danish citizenship. That's the definition of how they look at it.
Yes, and I certainly don't.
Super. Then we move forward to Lolland, I guess. Candice, hello.
Hello, my name is Candice Progler Thompson. I live on the island of Lolland, which is just across the bay, the Femmerdelt from Germany. I come originally from the United States, but I became part Danish when I came here as a 16-year-old exchange student through Rotary. And I lived here for 1 year. And I knew then that I had to help others explore the globe, cross cultures, and take this leap. So that's actually what I've been doing ever since. And after a period of doing this in the US, I moved here and worked at Copenhagen Business School to do the same. And I've been to the Middle East and back doing this same work. After I moved to Denmark, I met a Danish man and things started falling into place. We started a family, and then we took our family abroad from Denmark to Saudi Arabia, and then we repatriated to Denmark. So it's been really interesting, these different experiences I've had moving abroad as a single professional, but then moving a family already, bilingual, bicultural family outside to a dramatically different, but then also to repatriate to Denmark and repatriating after having been here originally as a teen. So I'm an adult third culture kid. I was it's still a very developmental stage in my life, but it actually is what transpired my career. And I've had the chance to do that in three places, three continents. And I am doing this because, to be honest with you, the work that I do is my calling. And I believe I was called to be in politics because I've been advocating for decades for the well being, for promoting global mobility and crossing of cultures and learning about one another, but also supporting the individuals that I have helped by inspiring them, by helping to facilitate their global transitions. And when I was asked by our vice mayor 1 year ago about representing their party with the international perspective here in Lowland, because we're just growing and growing so much with our international population, and it's only going to be increasing. It wasn't something I personally ever really saw on my bucket list or on my journey, but it actually seemed to make sense to me. And to me, I think Danish politics can be very confusing, and politics maybe in any country can be. But what meant a lot to me was a leader on our local city council who wanted my voice, who opened the door, who valued my opinion, my profession, all of that, and felt that it could add value to their party and add value to our increasingly international community here in Lowland.
Fantastic, Candice. That's a really cool start, and I can feel you are already falling into the role of being a politician. So nice job. We're gonna go from Lowland up north, now closer to me. We're getting to Skive, to Valentin. He is quite well known among the Romanian community, but I guess now it's time to make him known also in the international community. So, Valentin, hello.
Hi, my name is Valentin Vorbat and I'm coming from Romania. I came in Denmark in 2010 because of the economical crisis around Europe, and after I follow up some steps here in Denmark about integration, about community, about different things, now I think I'm ready to take the next step. Somebody was saying to me, I'm a doer. I'm not talking so much, but I'm a doer. So that's why I would like to candidate. I candidate because I think international, first of all, international needs to have a voice and needs to be heard. In Skive Comun, actually, I'm one of the only one or the only international that is going in meetings and meet with the mayor, with in council, I'm in Ethnic Road and in different other committees from Skive. So I think I would be a better person like a council. And I would like to change some stuffs also in Skive Comun because I'm coming with different perspective and different optic about it. So that's why I want to candidate and to be a part of the council in Skive.
Super. Thank you so much, Valentin. And we're going to go to our last stop for today in Tisted. If you don't know what that is, it's also called Cold Hawaii. You might know that better. And there we have Karen. Hello, Karen. How is the weather down there?
We had a little bit of sunshine today, but it's actually quite cold. Always windy. You can expect that. That's why they made the Cold Hawaii theme here, because you can always windsurf.
Are you like a former windsurfer? That's why you end up in there? Or what's your origin story?
My original story was that I met my husband just about after September 11. I'm American, as another candidate here said, but my story starts all the way in Puerto Rico, on a little island, Spanish-speaking island in the Caribbean. That's also American. I come from there, and I lived in New York. And I met my husband just right after September 11, and we were dating. and the environment in New York was very, very sad. So it actually pushed me to make the leap to Denmark, because in the beginning we originally thought it was going to be the US, but he kept talking about Denmark, so happy, so wonderful, and here I am, 20 something years later. It was supposed to be just a try, but it was really, really hard move. He used to live in Aarhus when I visited him, but he lost his job, and because of the international rules, he had to take something really quick. And he found the first one he could find was in Tista, so that was not planned as well. So I think my life has been made up of very not planned decisions. And that's how I ended up in Tista. We've been here 20 years. We've made a life here. And I met Narcissus around the end of Corona, where we were invited for the first ever international meeting in Tista. That's never happened before.
History.
That was an amazing moment for me, because I never thought there was going to be anything for internationals in our town until that meeting. And so I remember talking to you. I don't know if you remember talking to me about how excited I was that we should have more events like this in Teested, and you encouraged us to make a foraging and helped us make a foraging. And here we are 4 years later, because now it's campaign year. You came because you were campaigning for the regional. And now we are here 4 years later, where I've been running an organization, a non-profit organization, for 4 years. It's been really, really hard. Half of the people that helped me found the organization have moved out of Tista, because I heard some other people say that, people don't feel welcome, they don't feel accepted. Integration is really hard. Even trying to make an organization like ours has been very, very difficult for me to figure out everything, to get funding, to everything about it has been really hard. And now that it's a political year, of course, my organization has fell into the political theme. It was not something, of course, that I planned again, but we came into a lot of discussions with the current mayor. He's Venstre, which is where the party that I am now. And he sat us down, my organization, invited us basically to a roundtable at the beginning of the year, where we were going to make a plan for helping internationals. And history attested that there was something being discussed for internationals. And that to me was very motivating, and it really put the fire under us, and we got really involved. And there's money in the budget for next year, for the first time ever in Teested, to help internationals integrate. And we feel like we've been a really, really big part of that. And it just shows how getting a little bit political involved can make a difference, can change something. And to me, that really fired something in me, that showed that if we do make an effort to make a change, we can make a change. It's not easy. It took us 4 years to actually get that sit down discussion. It took us 4 years to actually make a priority list, but it's actually happening. And I almost want to cry. I get so excited, because I've been living here 20 years, and there's been nothing for internationals in our area, like, ever. If anything, you had to sign a paper that you couldn't get help. So now, when everything was planned, actually it was this to the summer, that he could see that I was really, like, motivated and excited, and everything, the ideas were running, and we almost became friends, him and I. He invited me to run in his party. And then we had the whole discussion about the blue side and the blue party, and he's completely against it. He's never been for the things that happen when there was a blue side, and he said they'll never be that way when he's there. So that also motivates me and sparks me. And today I was in a meeting with him as well, where we discussed it again, because I was telling him how hard it is sometimes to be the brown person in the room. I am brown, and it is a hard discussion, and it's never going to be easy to be the one making the change. But I am motivated by the thought that tomorrow will be better because of what I do. So if I have to be the one that has to sit in an uncomfortable room with a lot of old men that maybe have really bad thoughts about brown people, then I'm going to do it, because maybe tomorrow will be better for the next brown person that sits in that room talking to all of these old people. You know what I mean? So that's basically what drives me. The thought that I'm making a change, I'm making it better, is even driving me to think about my career choice, because I have been marketing and selling products, but now I to see that I can actually make a difference in people's lives. It really, really puts another fire in me that I never had before to do things that I do. You know what I mean? Why did I get involved? Because change doesn't happen by chance. It happens when you show up I believe in using your voice, your vote, and your presence to shape the future. And this is because I come from America, a place where people don't vote, a place where people are shocked by the president that gets elected because most people didn't vote than those that voted for him. What does that result in? Chaos. You can't just sit back and wait for others to do what you think needs to be done to fix the things you think should be fixed. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But creating a better tomorrow takes courage, takes commitment, takes action, and takes change. I got involved in politics not because I planned to, but because through my volunteer work, I met politicians that talked a lot about change, that said all the keywords that you want to hear. But it wasn't until I actually met one that not only listened, but acted that I realized that you need to be part of the change. You need to get involved. And if not now, when? History is not made by people that don't get involved. And history is happening now in Tisted Commune. This is the first time our commune has put budget or money into the budget to support internationals coming into our commune. Next year will be the first time that this is happening. And this is not a coincidence. This is a result of many years of advocacy that we worked on. We, and I mean many of us that were involved in this, worked really hard to make internationals not invisible anymore. We gave them a voice, we gave them valued, we made them feel welcome, we made a community, and we make ourselves be heard. Now the real change is happening in Tisted Commune. I may not have chose the party that some people expected me to. Even the color, people have disagreed that I picked the wrong one. But I picked the side that listened to me, that helped me make this change possible. That's why I'm standing here. And I'm standing proud as the first international for Venstre in Tisted Commune. I am making my voice heard. I'm making international's voice heard. And that is what I'm proud of, to be the first Venstre in our commune that is running for office. And I'm running for every international that has felt unseen and unheard. I am here to give them a local voice, to make a better future, to make a future with unity, inclusion, and prosperity for everybody that calls Tisted home. In this moment, we are creating history, and that's why I believe we need to get involved to make the change together.
I think that's a fantastic message, and I think the people who will be listening to your story most likely will be motivated to also try it. I know it's maybe a bit late now, but there's 4 years, and preparing for 4 years is not never a bad idea if you actually want to win from your first try. That was my part. We met the 4 candidates that we have here today. Derek, I think you can go deeper into their stories now.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing so much, and very, very motivating, very, very emotional, and very, very relatable, because I think anybody listening is going to be able to hear themselves in some of your stories, whether it's what it's like to be otherized in a room full of Danes, or other factors that may have you feeling that way, feeling tolerated but not necessarily wanted here or embraced here, wanting something better for your community as internationals, for something that feels better as bringing up your children here. Definitely feels really nice also to hear that there were people in your local communities in politics already that reached out to you, whether it was for your political action or to motivate you to get involved. So really love hearing about why you decided to run. I'd love to also kind of take it back. So our listeners who maybe haven't reached that level yet, of course, it's not possible in this election, but in the next 4 years it could be. But what we really want is for people who may be even doing it for the first time to understand why voting is important. And I'd love to hear from each of you what voting means to you, or how that process was for you the first time that you even just voted here in Denmark.
4 years ago, I cast my first vote. I didn't really know much about politics or anything about shaping the future, but I met Narcissus. The reason I voted was because I met Narcissus. He was running for regional elections. Before that, I never cared or paid attention to local politics. I didn't think it was for me. The thought of something simple and profound as internationals have a voice and to vote and to use them was something that I learned about with Narcissus. And that message really stayed with me. And now, 4 years later, I'm not just voting, I'm running because I have seen what happens when you speak up, when you organize, when you believe in change, when you make your voice heard, when you get active and involved. I've seen how advocacy and action can lead to the results. And this is why I think it's so important for us to vote. Now we have a chance for a better future, and we need to use our voice to make those dreams happen. We can build on it together. And this journey has given me a new meaning to my work, to my life. It's shown me that being a part of making change is not only possible, but it's necessary. And it's really a drive factor for me. Your voice matters. The future needs you to vote. You can't let others decide the future. You need to be part of it. So we have to vote. We have to vote as international. Let's lead this movement together and let's make history together.
If I may add, from my personal experience of voting as an international in Denmark, my first time voting was in November 2013, and I had achieved my permanent residency that year, which was a big milestone for me and for our family because we owned a home. Our children were both born by that point, and I felt extremely integrated professionally, personally, culturally. So that was wonderful to have that opportunity to vote. Still, I'm not sure I fully understood the whole system and that I did real research, but I voted anyway and used my right. And I think for me, when we have the opportunity, when we have the right, we should use our voice, even for our own countries. It's, a shame not to. It's almost like a responsibility that we have. And what we're doing is not just for ourselves, but for future generations, right? Or however you might see that. And so, as this time around, there are more people, more internationals that are running, this momentum. Let's keep this momentum going and just keep this effort growing. And as you said, Narcissus, across parties, across the country, and us being stronger together. And there's a book called The Power of Us, and it's so important that we work together to make this difference in whatever ways that we can. So I feel that I can be an active part of that here locally, but I'm fascinated by all of you, and I hope that we can work across the country in this space. But also, for example, I'm highly engaged, one of the co-founders of Internationals of Denmark, which is intentionally to support internationals living here and to try to break down barriers and help them thrive. So I just try to represent in whatever way possible. But for me, it's a wonderful opportunity and a responsibility to make a difference for myself, for my community that I'm living in. We live here. My children grow up here, but also for the international community at large.
That's amazing, Candice, and I feel it's not going to be as intense from my side now. You put so much pressure on me to say something beautiful and engaging. I think I've been voting. I assume by now it's twice for the municipality, right? And actually, at the last European election, when you're a EU citizen, you can decide to choose a representative from your own country, or let's say your country of birth, or the country that you're residing in. And for the first time, I actually decided to vote for some representative of Denmark and not from France. So I voted 3 times. I think my thoughts on voting is maybe blunt and French. If you don't vote, then you're not allowed to complain. It's pretty simple. You either do it or you shut up. And I think we tend to forget how lucky and privileged we are to have those votes, to have that ability to live in maybe I don't want to paint a pretty dark version of the world right now, but if we're bluntly honest, in some of the last functioning democracy when it comes to having a voice and that voice being heard. So use that chance. I think it's a shame if you don't. It truly is, specifically as an international, where we can move the needle. We really can. There's a lot of us. And I think we have a massive impact in society. Certainly in Copenhagen, I can't really talk for all the cities the rest of the panel is coming from, because as a true Copenhagen, I basically never go out of Copenhagen unless it's to leave the country. Like, use that vote, like, seriously. And if you don't, if you literally, if your excuse is I can't allocate 20 minutes of my time to get up and go to a school or a city or whatever to vote, then I mean, I think it's very sad. I'll tell you what, one of my biggest genuinely frustration here is that I cannot vote for the parliament at Christianborg. This I get really, really pissed with. And I'm always told, well, you just need your citizenship. But there's this little thing about like looking at integration only from the spectrum of you speak Danish, which I am strongly against. I think that's reducing so many things when it comes to integration. I think taxation without representation is stealing. I'm using some U.S. old school terms of the U.S. revolution from the UK Empire. I think there must be different ways of looking at access to citizenship and therefore the right to vote at the parliament. Municipal is good and it's a start. Local politics is basically the base of everything. So also you should go and vote. I encourage people to vote. I do it in my organization where I work. I do it with the parents from the school of my kids, and they go to public schools. But there's a fair amount of foreigners in that area of Copenhagen. I mean, if you think about it, just about the vote, right, and the number of internationals, there's places in Copenhagen like Ørsted or Nordhavn where there's close to 40% of the population that are non-Danish. And if these people don't vote, then what do we do? Then that means there's a very short majority of people that are deciding for the rest. And that's just not what democracy should be.
Spot on.
I'll take it over right now. First time when I vote, it was back in 2013 when I moved to Skive. And I think also voting is very important because being part of society, I know it's an optional, but I think it should be a need to go to vote. In the same time, I think people not just to go to vote, I think they should read a little bit about local politics and what politics they stand for and what politicians they want to do and who to vote, because it's easy or not easy maybe just to go to the school like 20 minutes, take a pen and make an X and go home. But I think it's also important to see what the party is staying for, how they can help international and so on and in common. So yeah, I think it's important to vote. And like other people, like Nico, I also try to convince a lot of people around me to vote. And last time I made the campaign for peace candidate from Skive Commune, and we was making some YouTube video, and I convinced my neighbors, international, my wife to vote. So I think it was very good, that exercise. And now I think more people will come out and vote from Skive Internationals. We are not so many. We are 3,000 people from 45,000 people. So it's not a big international community, but still we matter, I think. So yes.
I love everyone's passion about getting internationals to engage and us being a voice. But one thing that I'm concerned about, the reading up about the politics, but also the lack of meetings, for example, being held in English, the lack of budget reports, white papers, everything that is coming from the municipality, all of the meeting minutes, the city council meetings, everything is in Danish. So if we really want internationals to vote, we have to start long before. Internationals, I think, need to feel included. I believe they should be aware to make an informed decision. But if we don't actually invite them into the conversation and help them be informed about what's happening so they actually can join in the conversation, and ideally in English, maybe other things, but at least English, then how will they feel empowered to actually engage and use their voice. But maybe they could voice and advocate for exactly this, which is one of the things I'm advocating for is, information is power.
Here, I would like to disagree with you. I think as long as we live in Denmark, we should speak in Danish. And if you would like to know some information about commune, you should learn Danish because we are coming here, and I think we are not obliged to learn English just for internationals. Because, for example,
Valentin, just for the sake of counter argument, nobody's obliging them to speak English. They do. From a 6-year-old.
I love this is becoming a debate. Now that's nice.
In Yulan, I'm gonna stick up for you, Skive. At least in Yulan, I'm in Tisted. I'm Norfolk from him. It's not English the dominant language in internationals. Narcissus has also experienced it coming out to us. So we shouldn't push English as an international language. We should push Danish. Danish is the language we should learn.
I gallantly disagree. One country has done it, the Netherlands. They have a language that is almost as nice sounding as Danish. Yes, I'm being sarcastic here. And they have actually made it that English is the second official language for the country because of the realization that you cannot keep on forcing. You will lose people. You'll simply lose some internationals.
In this part of Denmark, in Copenhagen, I know very good, and I have also a story about Copenhagen and English, but I will come soon to it. For example, in this part where I'm living in Skiven, not everybody is speaking English, and I experienced on myself when my son was registered to apply. I go there, and that woman was not speaking English at all. So suddenly I wake up and I'm trying to find out things about my son and about how he's going with him to Visa apply. And we don't understand each other because she's not speaking English and I don't speak Danish. So then I was forced a little bit to start to learn Danish. And again, here in this part of the region, like Midtjylland, I would say, not Aarhus or the other big cities, not everybody speak English. And you are forced somehow to learn Danish. I don't say it's not possible to be just with English, but you are forced somehow for a better life. I have a colleague at work. I was working in Tisted Commune, and I had a colleague from work about my story with English in Copenhagen. And he's coming to work one time, and he was very upset, and he's telling this story. My mother, I'm quoting from here. My mother, 80 years old, she's traveling for the first time to Copenhagen. She's going there and going to some shop, want to ask something coming in English. She don't speak English. Going to ask for food coming in English. She don't speak English. And she was very upset. And I understand his frustration. How is possible that I'm traveling from Tisted to my capital in Denmark? I'm not going outside of Denmark and I cannot understand with these people. So I think they are a little bit right, my opinion.
I think they're very right, but I think not everyone is going to be 18, 10 years. And I think the future, politics is about what's happening in 10, 15 years. We can look at what's happening now.
I love the debate, but it cannot go for too long. It was just for fun to see where it goes further on. Valentin, just so you know, the whole reason I started in Danish politics was to make them in English, to make them approachable in English. Aalborg became the first city in Denmark to be bilingual. We officially, our public employees have to speak English. It's not an option, it's a must. And I hope with time other cities will follow us. By the way, Copenhagen hasn't done it yet. Nico, you still have to get...
No, not true. I agree. It's a struggle.
I don't want any of you or any listeners to misunderstand what I was saying. I believe that one should learn Danish if one is living here, in any country for that matter, and that when you learn the language, you will get a better window into society, but also more doors will be open. However, as we all know, learning a language takes time. And when it involves politics, this is a more complex matter. And so I don't believe it's entirely inclusive if everything is in Danish, if we want to be inviting. For example, I have a temporary position with our local language school to translate our website into English. I've been doing this year, and our letters that go out. It's not because English is a pardon me, it happens to be my first language, my only other language, but it's difficult if we choose one language. What language should that be? And when we print things and when we take the time to make a website and you have to update if you have multiple languages and you have to make sure the information is accurate. So, in that sense, I believe that English would be more of a resource if we actually do want internationals to just be more engaged in society as a whole, which will make them more informed if they want to engage in politics, but also get involved in politics, right?
I want to say something real fast that this is very much a local political decision because there is very different regional internationals or languages. It's not English everywhere. That's what I have learned here in Tista. It's not one language everywhere. It must be a local decision, and I wonder if we should be using technology for this. Artificial intelligence should be able to help us all with the 5 languages that are common to your local communes. You know what I mean? I don't think politics should be required to be in English when we're in Denmark. That's what I was trying to say.
Nobody says that politics should be required to be in a certain language. I'm saying administration, public administration that we all pay for should be in at least 2 languages. I know not everyone has access to English, but it gives you more options. You either hopefully learn directly Danish or you knew English already from before. So one of the two, right? It increases the chances that you actually can use the public system, you can use the healthcare system, compared to that there's only one option, which is Danish, which can take average of 10 to 15 years to learn. That's usual average for anyone to be fluent in Danish.
Maybe I came out strongly around the like speaking Danish or not speaking Danish, but yes, Copenhagen has its own we know there's it's a capital, etc. I think I look at it very much more from the point of view when Narcisse, I didn't know about the Aalborg completely bilingual and everything. I mean, I'm very admirative of this. I think we look at it from a point of integration of talents. Like Denmark, we know historically is very picky on who can come in and who cannot come in. Very much look at how do you add to society positively, and that's completely fine. And I think I see this very much in the spectrum of an organization doing recruitment, right? So you spend a certain amount of money on attracting talent, getting that talent to come in, but then you don't invest anything on onboarding and retention of that talent. And that's what's currently happening by not using multiple languages. That's all. We're not asking for favoritism treatment. We're not asking for being treated differently, but I have kids in this country. I am not Danish. I don't speak Danish, and Aula doesn't have any kind of integration to have it in English. I'm being excluded.
But here I will say also, in same time, every commune is offering you 3 years to learn Danish gratis.
Yeah, but Narcisse is completely right. I'm not going to learn. It took me 15 years to barely speak English as a French person. I'm not going to learn Danish in 3 years. That's not going to happen.
If they would not try to integrate you, they will not give you that 3 years gratis Danish language.
It's 5 years, but
Valentin, you know the quality of those.
I think they do some stuff. They are not perfect. I don't try to.
No, they do some stuff. God, yeah. I'm not saying they don't do anything. But I'm pointing out that more can be done. I need to run. I'm really, really sorry. I have a meeting for work. It was lovely to meet everyone, really. I hope to connect with everyone and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
It was a pleasure, Nico. Good luck with Copenhagen.
can I add that we are not a bilingual municipality yet, but we were the first communal international grundskole here in Maribor and Lolland because of the large influx of international employees, many who bring families here. Because of this Femmern project, this underwater tunnel between us and Germany. And therefore, it was foreseen, of course, and known best practices that it's important to have schooling that their children could easily transition into and also out of should they move on or back home. And so the school is bilingual, Danish, English, but we use Aula and everything is communicated in English. The teachers communicate out in English. So we are tax money that goes towards this public school, but we are an international school. Half of the schooling is in Cambridge English. And recently, I think it might be this school year, the school has stopped having a website in both Danish and English because if you update the English, you must update the Danish. And the point is, most of our students or in the families, I guess they're coming maybe in with the English. And I mean, it was a political choice. It was also a practical matter.
I think if you have internationals that come into the area that take action to try to help the adjustments, it will happen because that's what's happening in T-State as well. But that's why it's so important to get politically involved, because if every international doesn't try to get involved and doesn't try to help translate the website like you're helping, then it wouldn't happen. It's like you have to almost get involved and say, we should do this. I can help. Not volunteer, but suggest things that you can help and handhold through, because maybe they just don't know how or don't have the facility or the capacity.
I think that's a good sort of capstone idea, is that as we navigate this process, whether it's on voting or choosing to run yourselves, it all starts with these actions. So getting involved with your community, whether it is something like this, finding a way to make schools more bilingual or to have services be bilingual to integrate people and be a bridge to their integration as they're learning Danish. They're not being left behind in certain services and resources that they are entitled to and paying into as well. So very interesting debate, and I think we could have a long, long discussion about that. But I certainly really value all of your points of view. And internationals living here are not a monolith, and we do have different viewpoints, and we have different needs, and we have different levels of integration, and geographics plays into that. But that's also all the reason more for us to get involved and to realize, as we started the segment with, that this is your Denmark. So being able to vote and make it official will really put that stamp on it, that this is your Denmark and you do own all of these issues together through your representation. That may be all of you.
Yeah, we started this podcast to help people understand how the system works, and I think we end it with something deeper: the belief that this is your democracy too. I really love the messages that we had here today. I think you are the right people at the right time, and you're still few. You have to understand there are 98 municipalities in Denmark, and maybe we're gonna have international candidates in 20 at best if we're lucky. I remember in 2021, we really like broke the norm when we had, I think, 19 international candidates. Well, 16 were Romanian, but yeah, that's a different story.
You did a good job back then. You did a good job, so many follow you.
Yeah, I think so. At least for me.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, it was mainly Romanians back then, but yeah.
I want to say something that I think it's really strong, that I think is underlining to what you said. And I wrote it in an article that I send articles to the local paper and they get published almost right away because we don't have news. I wrote it that we cannot expect change if we're not willing to be part of the change, if we're not willing to make the change ourselves. And that's why I'm running. And I think that's what we all have to push through. It's like change is hard, change is difficult, but you have to make it happen if you believe in it. So you have to be the one pushing through that barrier that is there, as we can feel it as international. So we have to be the change.
Absolutely.
For me, I think for those who really want to make the investment into their integration, into their involvement, which can lead to integration, that both we who are engaged in being active and advocates on behalf of internationals, we have a responsibility to invite them into the conversation and create the awareness. But for the internationals who are here who do see a long term or a possibility or want to try to get there, admittedly, there are people that move here and aren't quite sure if their contract's 3 to 5 years. But by looking into politics, by exploring what is happening, particularly at least locally, they will find, I think, the byproduct is just becoming more integrated. Even I have become more integrated by exploring all the different aspects about the development that's going on in the business community here, to know what's happening with public transportation. It's not that I didn't have my finger on the pulse before, but now I really have my finger on the pulse, because when I get voted in, I would be responsible for representing everybody. Yes, I bring this insight and passion for supporting internationals, but still, I need to represent everyone. But just getting more involved in this, just by reading about it and talking about it, I think that could be a good way for internationals to naturally feel and become more integrated.
Or at home.
Yeah, by being more aware and to be able to know what's going on around them. Yes, which I think definitely will help them feel a bit, like you said, more at home, more comfortable, instead of living maybe in a bubble or feeling in a parallel society.
Hashtag belonging.
Yeah, belonging. Haha.
Valentin, please.
So for 5 years ago or 4 years ago, I start to come out in Danish society, and every time when I was going, I was the only internationals, and it's very very difficult, especially in a community like in Skive where there is international but they don't come out. It's very difficult to break the ice, and I'm like a brown bear in white snow for them. But now they get used to. So I really think as many as we come out in Danish society here in Skive and or in all Denmark, and we implicate ourselves in, for example, like sport club or football, or go to be a volunteer to when it's a festival in a small town. I'm doing all of that. I'm volunteer to many activities. Speak with them because they are interesting in beginning. They ask you where you coming from, what are you doing, and so on and so on. Not just at work, because at work you staying 8 hours and you go home and that's it. So I really think people should be more active in Danish society and not just be make a small church with their friends, Romanians or Ukrainians or so on and so on. Just be a part of society, because if you're not a part of society, it's like I have a saying, you're like a truck driver from Romania who is driving all over Europe, but is staying just in his truck drivers. So be a part of society.
Super. Thank you so much. And Derek, thank you for the 5 episodes. Remember, Vote Home Season 2 is about preparing you to go and vote for the local and regional elections on 18th of November 2025. I hope the 5 episodes that we have done together here with Derek Hartman have been useful for you, and that you have hopefully shared it with your friends and family.